Welcome to the Sports Car Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Wow, what a weekend. I have to say, after last weekend, I was feeling a little hobby fatigue. Hofstra took a lot out of me last weekend, from the driving, the show itself, the tight margins, the negotiating. I was just exhausted, and I was feeling some hobby fatigue after last weekend. And I also think just being in this, and I talked about it last week, and I've talked about it before, just this hobby dead zone, just this period like between February and I'm gonna say like May to June, where I know football sells all year round, but some of the football that you start to pick up in the fall and the early winter, the prices are so down on it, you just don't want to sell it because you know that those prices are going to come back. Doesn't make sense to sell them. And as you know, I'm doing a ton of grading, and I just don't think now is the time to start putting, moving those football cards. So, I'm selling all kinds of things, just figuring out what's going to work for me during this. And I went through this last year and the year before. I go back and I look at some of these episodes, and I look, and then I remember, as soon as I see the titles to some of these episodes, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. And I just remember going through this a lot and just having to figure out how to navigate this time just a little better. This is what, year 4, coming into falling into this little dead zone again. And I think I'm doing better each year. I'm doing a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. I put a plan together, right? And I strong hands. I want to hold on to that, and I really don't vary, too much away from that. I generally, because I know where, I don't even want to call it the victory, but I just know that finish line. If I can just wait to the proper time to hit that finish line, that the payoff is going to be that much better. Uh, I also spent, I don't even know how many days, how many nights, preparing these baseball cards, these baseball singles. It was exhausting after I separated them by years, and first Bowmans and rookie cards and things like that. Then I had to go through and start pricing all these cards out, hundreds and hundreds. And I know, like, I bought all most of those cards were penny sleeved and top loaded. And some of them I went through and changed up the top because they had just been sitting for so long. And they were the top loaders that I used 3 years ago and 4 years ago, just weren't as clear as the ones. So I went through and I bought a box of 1,000 top loaders, and I went through that whole box. Right. So I had to order a second box, switching out. So just doing so much of that, I think it was tiring for me. Just a lot of things coming all together at once. And I always say the nice balance, is the listeners when I'm out at these shows, or just, through Instagram and Facebook, and just the messaging and people that come find me at the shows, just to say hi, and talk about the podcast, talk about cards, talk about episodes, just talk about, so, even though it's hobby stuff, it's nice to be able to interact with people at the shows, um, that are coming to see me for different reasons than just a buying and selling of a card. So it's always nice, and I find that to be my balance. Um, this past week, I apologize. There was no episode on Thursday. I just had so much going on with with my day job that I knew I just wouldn't have time to get to the podcast, to do it and get it out on Thursday. But that was still no excuse to take time off of the hobby, right? So even though I'm doing all this stuff during the day, I'm still, you know, doing hobby stuff on a daily basis. So, my hobby, you know, right back at it. My weekend started on Tuesday night. So So my man Tyler at MT_cards_N_more. I met him at a show that I did up in Chicopee, and he reached out to me on Monday night and said, "Hey, I've got this great card. I think you might be interested." It was an Anthony Richardson Pandora. It's numbered to 400. PSA 10. If you're on YouTube, I'm just going to hold that up there. So he probably lives an hour and a half away from me. So we met up halfway Tuesday night to get the deal done. I'm super excited to have this card. So we got that deal done on Tuesday night. Wednesday, right? Wednesday, I hear from my man Mike at Chasing Goats 12. Reached out to me on Instagram. He was heading to the Shriners show this weekend. And in conversation, he said, "Hey, I got a bunch of cards that I'm bringing there. I'm hoping to sell or trade into something else." And I said, "Well, send me some pictures and prices. I may be interested in some of these cards." So he sent me a bunch of cards, bunch of prices. We ended up making a deal. I ended up buying 4 cards from him. I bought 2 Burrow rookies, 1 Herbert Red Ice rookie, and my probably one of my favorite card that came in that. I'm going to hold that up. The Spectra Rivals, Tom Brady and Darrelle Revis. It's game worn, number to 49. I'll just hold that up for you. Just a great looking card. I'm super excited to have this card. Working on that deal Thursday night, right? The NFL draft. You got to drop everything for that. I look forward to that all year long. It never disappoints. Even the first 10, 15, 20 picks are completely predictable. You know what players are going. It still never disappoints. Sit there, I'm there, from 8 o'clock to almost midnight watching. That's Eastern for me, Eastern time for me, watching these things. And, you know, uh, I do a lot of fantasy football, so it's important for me to know, where these guys are going and starting to put them on my radar now. But this year I got involved in a dynasty league, which our dynasty league is drafting rookies on Tuesday night. So, I mean, when am I going to have time to go out and, like, if I wasn't part of this and watching this and see what's going on and where these players are going and listening to the professionals break it down, I wouldn't have as good information as I have right now. I feel I'm very prepared going into that on Tuesday night. So, just all these things we're looking forward to. And throughout the week, right? I knew I was doing a show on Sunday, and I've just been thinking, I mean, I've been going through my office and the storage and cleaning up, and I've got so many singles boxes. I was boxes that I put together in the past that kind of just got stale, that I just put away and, stopped bringing to shows and things like that. I got them out. I dusted them off, spruced them up. I just prepared them for the Sunday show because I knew um, this particular show has 8-foot tables, and I was able to just put boxes back to back, 2 5-row boxes, back to back on these tables going down. Because I want to start getting rid of some of this stuff too, start turning this stuff over. Saturday, I drove down to a local show in Trumbull. It's a small local show. It's in a church. And surprisingly, as small as the room looks, there's a lot of dealers in that room with a lot of cards. And I pretty much know most of the dealers by now. And I know most of the kids too. A lot of kids running around. And I think it's a great place. Like, one of the things I was saying to somebody else, I mean, these kids are going to remember this stuff. I mean, what a great place to hang out on a Saturday. The dads are set up with the kids, with the tables. The kids are running around. They're looking at cars, they're buying cars, they're trading cards, they're doing stuff with cards, and just what a great great way to be able to spend time, like a father son putting that time in together at a show. And and I know my guys Bill and Billy, I mean, they do this, and I just think it's great that they're able to spend a lot of this time together, uh this father son time together. And it's always great to show up too with these a lot of these guys. I know they hold these shows once a month, so a lot of them will have new inventory each time I show up. So talked about it last week. I need to do some shopping, so I was pretty excited to show up, get down there and do some shopping and start to fill up some of my empty spaces in my cases. I saw my man Rich down there, his Whittlebug cards. I made a deal with him. I bought 3 cards from him. CJ Stroud, Reactive Blue, PSA 10. Hold that up. Uh, and Anthony Richardson, is a die cut, the Don Russ die cut silver, to 75. And that is a raw card. And I bought this. This card was kind of cool. I like these hyper prisms. It's a 2018 prism. It's a Lamar Jackson hyper prism. Is a PSA 9 and it's numbered to 275. So again, these cards are just great cards that I hold for another month and then start putting them out there. I should do pretty well with them. Um, it's always great to catch up because you don't just show up to these small shows. And if you have small shows that you frequently attend, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's not like you show up and say, "Oh, I'm just going to buy a couple cards from this guy." I mean, you may stand there for an hour and talk to them, and start talking about things. And especially me, I have a podcast, right? So people always have ideas for shows and stuff, and I like that because I'm almost up to 200 episodes, and sometimes I say, it's difficult sometimes coming up with topics, and not repeating topics that you've already done before. And sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a good idea. And as soon as it starts to sound a little familiar, I start to scroll back through all my episodes. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's why it seems familiar. I've already done one on this before. And sometimes we can put a little twist on it and start again. But it gets hard sometimes to come up with so many topics. So I always appreciate people throwing topics out to me all the time, especially at the shows. But it's just fun. It's like friends. It's like showing up. It's like hanging out with people, right? It's a great way, I think, to spend a few hours on a Saturday. I just mentioned Bill and Billy. I saw them at this show in Trumbull. I made a deal with them. I bought this Jordan Love Optic Hollow rated rookie, PSA 10. So I've never been really much of a Jordan Love guy, and I remember last year, well, when a year and a half, whatever it was, however long ago, when Rodgers said that he was leaving and going to the Jets. And I remember talking on a couple episodes saying, I don't get it. I mean, I see these people are spending, $500, $700, $700, $1,000 on these Jordan Love cards. And I'm like, to me, that was just scary. It was just scary for a guy who sat as a backup for all those 3 years, and it had no idea what to expect coming out. And I mean, I listened to a lot of people saying that they just felt he was going to fail. So I've never been a Jordan Love guy. But then, of course, right, he comes out, he plays very well last year, and now I see that he's another guy that you know his prices are probably going to pop up too coming into. I don't see like a really big push on his cards, but it's something where the prices could come up. Um, I was listening with this draft and all this stuff coming up, and I talked about Hendon Hooker, and a few people, they sent me that shaking head emoji, like, what are you doing? And other people are like, I think I agree with you there. And regardless if what it is, good, bad, or indifferent, I heard that the professional, listen to these people saying that Goff is going to sign an extended multi-year contract in Detroit, and at the draft, they seem to kind of act as if he was going to be there for a while, that he wasn't going anywhere soon. And I know he has a big contract to begin with, and I was surprised. I figured Hendon Hooker was going to get his chance sooner than later, because he's an older player too. He's not a young rookie, um, or a rookie last year, anyways. That was injured most of the year. So I'm like, what I've been talking about, I've got all these, redemptions that hopefully I can cash in at the National this year, and then I just got notified on Thursday with him that not only do you hear the news like, oh, this guy's going to be signing Golf's going to be signing a long-term contract, they're like, oh, good news, one of your redemptions is being redeemed. And I'm like, oh no, slow down, this is the first time that I've ever been like, no, Panini, no, don't send me the redemptions, I don't want them. Keep them, give them to somebody else. All right. I'd rather just trade these in for, black boxes and white boxes and whatever. So I don't know. I guess he's must have, I don't know what he signed, or if he showed up to sign or only signed a few. I have 19 redemptions of his, and it looks like two are being sent to me now. So I hope he slows down, and I hope they forget about me. Where were you when I was waiting for my Patrick Mahomes auto, right? What happened there? I couldn't send that one, right? But you're sending the ones I don't want. But you know, if they come, I'm sure they'll have some value. Hopefully, they'll have some value, or more value than what I paid for the redemptions themselves. But anyways, back to Trumbull. When I was leaving Trumbull, I was hanging out. When I bought this Jordan Love card, I was hanging out with Bill and Billy, just chatting. And Bill sells a lot. They sell a lot of wax, and he says, "Do you want to do a pack battle?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "No, we're gonna do absolute megas." And I said, "No, I'm good." I didn't even know what a pack battle was. He was starting to explain it, but somebody else was there. It's like, "I'll do it with you." So they each bought, an absolute mega. And I'm standing there, and Bill opens the box. He pulls his first pack out. He opens it up, and he pulls out a CJ Stroud Kaboom. I'm like, damn, right? I was standing right there while he pulled that out. And it was pretty exciting, for a day, where there's a lot of, it was kind of nice on Saturday. He was set up outside. There was a bunch of people out there. Um, and Yeah, he wins, right? Pulls the CJ Stroud. Yep, you win, Bill. That caused quite a stir, right? Lots of excitement, people hooting and hollering. Everybody came to take a look at the banger. So that was, even more excitement for a Saturday afternoon, and probably even more. I think he probably sold 4 or 5 more, boxes of wax after that, because people are just, gets people excited to want to pull something great. So I drove home Saturday. I was feeling pretty good, right? So far, the week, picking up some inventory at good prices, knowing I still had a show to go to the next day that I was setting up at, and there was going to be some more opportunities there. So yeah, I was feeling good. I was feeling, really hobby upbeat at that moment on Saturday, just heading home, feeling good. Sunday morning, I'm up early off the New Britain show with all my singles boxes. It was just incredible. In fact, I put them all out there, and I had 2 5-row boxes that I just could not get on the table. And there was a couple other boxes that I was just stacking up in the back on another table, just to try to, so people could know. I have pretty good signage on it, so people know what's in the boxes. So for 6 feet, just all they were was back-to-back singles boxes and one showcase. I know this show, um, some people complained about the show, but I mean, I did very well buying and selling. I thought there was decent foot traffic there. I mean, it wasn't overly busy, but look, for a Sunday show, 70 degrees outside. We had 2 weeks of pretty cold, colder than normal weather, right? I thought this show was, well attended. A lot of people came in buying. I had all those singles boxes up there. I did very well. As usual, I did very well on there. I sold more out of those boxes than anything else. Um, and I say this all the time, I get tired of doing it, and I was telling somebody today that, when you break down the time it takes to make these things, like, you really have to love what you're doing. You really have to, enjoy doing this stuff, 'cause if you don't, it could catch up to you really fast doing that, because it takes a lot of work, and then you have to be replenishing those boxes too and figuring out prices, and like on these things, you always have to be adjusting prices, because prices are always changing on those things. So you really have to be dedicated if you want that to work for you. If you want to do singles boxes, you really have to be dedicated to doing it. Right now, I'm in the mindset with these boxes is just start selling them. Like, I have stuff going back to 2020, 21, 22, 23. Like, you know, I think I have about 8 5-row boxes, like 4 or 5 3-row boxes, a bunch of 2-row boxes, some of those higher 2-row discount slab boxes, right? It's time to start, to me, it's time to start selling it off. A lot of those cards in the soccer, the baseball, the football, they're all $1 and $2. Like, there's certain ones that I just put aside, put them in their own box and put prices on, but all the rest of the cards, $1, $2, right? And I think that's why I did so well today, because the prices were right on there. And I'm at a point now, it's time to turn this inventory over and get some fresh stuff out there in these boxes. So that's kind of my goal over these next, throughout the rest of this hobby dead zone, is just to try to turn all these, sell all these singles boxes and start, putting new ones together. At this show, my man Joe, who is a listener, came to see me, and he actually packed a box of cards for me. He said, "I listened to you. I know what you're buying. I went through what I had." He said, "I packed this box for you. I think you're going to probably want to buy all the cards in this box, but here, go through it." You know, I, I was super excited for somebody to show up and say, "Hey, look, I know exactly what you're looking for. I'm coming to straight to you with this box," kind of like a care package, right? Super excited. I ended up buying 5 of the cards, and I have those here. So these were all PSA 10 base, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. And I'll hold each one of these up. Happy to have those. These are the kind of stuff you want to put in your case that people look for. This next one was really cool that I was really excited about, believe it or not. It's the Bowman Chrome University. It's the first Bowman, Drake May, and it's auto. It's a really clean card. And being here, right, in New England, I'm sure that'll be a fast seller. And of course, the Angel Reese short print got me women's basketball. I'm very excited over that. Uh, Now that the draft is over for them, as you know, with the women's basketball, putting these boxes together that I'm going to be taking out, that and women's basketball, women's soccer, I'm going to be taking out to the nationals. So always excited to be able to buy this kind of inventory as well. I did some shopping during the day. I picked up about 15 to 18 singles, all rookie cards. I think 95% quarterbacks, a couple receivers maybe, but just being able to buy them at a price, that just makes sense, that when I get home and I look at them, if they're not gradable, right, I can turn around and put them right back out for sale and not lose any money on it. And if they are, I can send them off to PSA and then take a chance and, hopefully make a few bucks on it. But um easy deals, like walking around, and of course, I think a lot of people feel like I do at this point, at these smaller shows, is if you've got somebody interested in the cards and they're making a fair offer, yes, right? Yes is pretty much the word. Uh, I didn't come across many people today, um, with singles cards anyways, that I said, "Hey, you've got $12 on these. Can you do, both for 8 or something like that?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And I was the same way on my end, people coming up making an offer on things. And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I can do it. As long as it makes sense, I can do it. As long as you're not saying, hey, these are $12, will you take two?" That type of thing. Um, and it's I mean, I think the key, right, is being able to buy these cars that if they're not gonna work out, if they have a soft corner or a scratch or a ding or something on it like that, you could drop it right back in the case, right? Drop it right back in the case. And, because not everybody that's buying a single card is going to grade the card. Some people just wanna buy the cards. Some people buy the cards and they'll sell them single somewhere else, put them up on eBay or wherever they're gonna do. So, I mean, it's fine. It's fine for what I'm doing, it's making perfect sense. So my guys, Bill and Billy, were set up at this show as well. They had that CJ Stroud Kaboom front and center in their case. And it was definitely drawing some attention, people coming by, checking it out. Um, Earlier in the day, when it first got set up there. And, he posted it up too. So people just came by, take a look at it. And I thought in the morning, I was thinking about that card and I was thinking, like, I didn't know how it looked. I didn't see it up close. And I said, I should take a look at it. If it made sense to try to make a deal for the card, I would. Um, I knew what the comps were on the card. And I kind of knew what I was willing to offer that would make sense for me. And not being a ridiculously low offer, just enough that, again, if I got this card and it wasn't gradable, I can't pay full price, and then hopefully, just try to get the full price back out of it. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna let the day go on and see what ends up happening. If he sells the card, he sells the card. Just, I'll let that play out itself. So about an hour before the end of the show, I asked him, "Hey, what's the best price on the card? I mean, what are you set on grading it? Are you set on selling it? I mean, what is your thought?" And we talked a little bit about the card. I said, I'd be willing to do all cash or cash and, trade, whatever made sense for you. So he kind of looked at my cards and we talked a little more. And we ended up making a deal. So I am now the proud owner of this banger. And hold this up, a CJ Stroud Kaboom. So very excited to own this card. And I was there when it was pulled. I mean, how many times can you say that you were there when the card was pulled and then you open the card if it wasn't your card to begin with, right? I mean, it was. Uh, I'm going to look at this card myself tonight, and I'm going to have a few other pair of eyes take a look at it as well to see if it's gradable, meaning will this could this and would this get a 10 from PSA? Because if not, it makes no sense for me to pay the PSA charges for a PSA 9 because the PSA 9 is selling for the same value as a raw card, right? So it make no sense to pay that. If it's very close, I'll take a chance, right? If it's close, especially on a card like this, if it's close, I'll take a chance. But um, I think this is going to be one of those cards that I'm going to really want to 10. It's going to make sense because we're not talking 15 or $16 to grade it. I think it's I know it's a lot more. The upcharge is a lot more. And the other thing I need to take into account is, will this card mature over the next month, 6 weeks, 2 months? Is the price, could it go up? Or am I taking a chance and this is going to be one of those cards that, a couple of people are going to sell cheap and then the comps are going to be low on this card. So it's just another thing just to think about and to take into consideration with the bigger card. I usually don't get involved in big cards like this, but I think this card, from what I could see at the show, looking at the card, The price I paid, I think it was worth taking a chance on it to see what I can do with it. And you probably could go back to a bunch of episodes, and mostly all the expensive cards I've ever bought have already been graded, and most of them I've traded up, more cards than cash into. Um, so this is a little different. This is kind of a new road for me doing this with this card right here. So of course, a little nervous driving home, a little nervous thinking about it, getting ready for the pod, just thinking about it, but I just have a good feeling. I have a good feeling. No, regardless of what happens, you're going to know by Thursday what I'm doing with this card, if it's gone to PSA or if it's still sitting here raw. Yeah. So I mean, with all these raw cards, tomorrow I'll be right back at it. Right, I'll be back out looking at all these raw cards, deciding what's gradable. What I'm gonna send out, what I'm gonna put, and these graded cards that I bought, which ones I'm packing away for another month or so, and which ones I'll take next week. I'm doing a show in Norwalk next week at Chelsea Piers, so what I'm going to take there, because I need to bring some inventory there as well. So yeah, so I'm right back at it. A little rest tonight, and I'll be right back at it again tomorrow. It's funny, I started out this episode talking about a little bit of hobby fatigue, and it's so interesting how fast the hobby can turn around on you with some positive experiences, right? From last week to this week, all of a sudden I'm feeling rejuvenated, re-energized. I'm almost feeling right now, I'm riding a little bit of a hobby high, right? And really, it's been almost a whirlwind for the last 4 or 5 days, or maybe even a week, right? Of all these different cards that all of a sudden, all these opportunities that have shown up, have opened up for me. Because last Sunday, when I'm putting this episode together, I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know what I'm going to do this week, right? It was one of those things where I didn't even know what I was going to do this week. And next thing you know, it was like hit the ground running Monday, and it was every single day of something going on. So you never know. A few positive experiences just turns the whole hobby around. I always say it's a lot like being on a scoring drought if you're an athlete, right? In any sport. But when you've been on a drought for a while, when you score that first goal or catch that first touchdown, right? Then you remember all the reasons why you love the sport and you play the sport, and you forgot all about that drought. You're back doing everything right again, right? And that's kind of how this week has felt for me. And really a huge shout out, right, to everyone I mentioned today, all the deals that came my way, all the people who've just reached out to me throughout the week. It's really just, like I said, rejuvenated, re-energized me. And that's really what being part of this hobby is, that hobby experience, right? It's not just the cards. A lot of it has to do with the people around you too, who you surround yourself with, people who are reaching out to you. Yeah, it's been a great week for me, and I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I'll be back Thursday with a brand new episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.